Hey, good evening, guys. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy. We got a mailbag question for tonight. Just a little update on the Buckmaster. I got the concrete at the end, hadn't got it up yet. I kind of was going to do it this afternoon, and Kent called me, and I sat out in the backyard talking to Kent on the phone and looked out at my pasture and realized I had an extra bull in my pasture, so that kind of eliminated any antenna maintenance for the rest of the day. I got that problem rectified, so that's just part of having cows. That's just part of it. Bill, let's see, Kilo Fox 0, November, Quebec. Bill sent me a mailbag question because he knew I mentioned you'll do some coax replacing, and maybe give some tips for some new guys on coax, choosing what coax works best for you. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, this could be as polarizing a question as grounding and lightning protection and what's the best HF rig. I am going to give you my suggestions, and I am certainly not telling any of you what to buy, because like I've said before, you're the only person that knows your particular situation. I don't know your skill level, I don't know your finance level, don't know your location or anything or what you're wanting to accomplish. So what I'm merely going to tell y'all is things I've done over the years and things I'm doing now and my suggestions. First off, let's talk a little bit about connectors. The two biggest connectors that you will use in ham radio are SO239s, PL259s, and N connectors, especially if you get up in VHF, UHF stuff. First N connectors I'd ever use was in the military. All our antennas had N connectors on them. Majority of your HF rigs, VHF, SO239, and set up for PL259s. You can get adapters. I know I believe Kent and Jeff and Tim, Kent's already bought one. Jeff and Tim has got one ordered for a 5/8 wave Comet dual band, and it's set up with N connectors on it. So I don't have a sample of an N connector to show you, but they're real similar, but they are supposed to be a lower loss connector, especially for use in VHF, UHF applications. Now, Two real types of PL259s I recommend. Here's the solder type Amphenol. Amphenols have that bakelite, like a dark yellow insulator in the center. Very good connectors. I've used these for years. These are silver plated crimp-ons. Kent got us these. These are a good grade of the crimp-on connectors, and I'm getting used to using them now. I really like these a little better than solder type. But again, you need to use a good grade of connector. It'll save you a lot of trouble in the long run. I know I've talked about being a Radio Shack fan, and I still am. And I've used Radio Shack PL259s. The only problem with those is they just got a white plastic insulator that's just pressed into the PL259. And I have pushed them out before, trying to solder them on, getting the wire up in them, and you can get them too hot and they'll come loose. So it's something to think about. Now, what I'm going to tell you is based on my experience. All of you have seen my wall full of cards. 99% of my contacts since I've been a ham since 1991 has been with RG8X, or what we used to call RG8 mini foam coax. I'm a firm believer in it, but hear me out. I'm a radio operator. I'm not an electronics guy. Jeff, Kent, Tim, Cody, Adam, are electronics guys. I'm strictly an operator. Kent and I have talked at length about Coax. And you have a lot more versions of Coax available today than I can remember when I got into this hobby. LMR 400 is a really, really low loss, high grade Coax. It's a little stiffer to use, but it's expensive. 9913 is another high grade Coax. One of the reasons I didn't go with 9913, well, there was two reasons. One, money, cheap ham, remember. Two, Ken had always told me he didn't like 9913 because he thought it would hold moisture more than some others. Had a way of moisture would get in it and cause issues. But it's supposed to be a really good Coax, and I'm not knocking anybody that's using it. I'm just not. What I have used all these years, I did come up with 2 used runs of 213 that I've been using on how old they were. As an old ham that come out of his estate years ago. Largely I've used RG8X, and it's going to catch crap for saying this. Some of my RG8X I'm still using has Tandy on the side of it, if you can still read the name of it. I've never run an amp. All my runs are 100 foot to 125 foot or less. And for 30 megahertz and below, is my rule of thumb has always been this. If you're running an HF rig, 30 megahertz and below, and you're not running over 100 to maybe 125 feet connector to connector, I don't see the need in spending, let me rephrase that. I don't believe the amount of money you would spend for a better grade of Coax or RG8X would offset whatever you might gain in less loss of signal. I know I'm setting myself up to be harpooned here, but it's just my thoughts. I've got one full logbook, working on my second logbook. You've seen this wall full of cards. Barefoot RG8X. Now, when I bought this 8-band Buckmaster, I bought it in mind with this Heathkit rig I'm going to have here. Kent's redoing a 101 for me. And I've got an SB220 amp that was don't give to me by W5MAS Mark. Tim's already gone through it and got it going. So that's the antenna I will run that amp with. So I bought 213, a run of Jetstream 213 to run that antenna with. It was a little higher than RG8X, but not near as high as 9913 or LMR 400. Now, I just bought 2 runs of Cable Experts RG8X from MTC, and that's the cable I'm fixing to change out my 10 meter Yagi and the 2 meter Yagi on top of it I use for repeater work. Now, before anybody says you just contradicted yourself, you're running RG8X on VHF, my thing is this. I'm just working local repeaters with that antenna. I can hit repeaters I've never hit before with it. And I've used RG8X all the time. So I can't see justifying buying 100 or 125 foot of LMR 400 just to work repeaters with. Now, I did put 39 foot of LMR 400 that I bought off Kent at a tailgate sale a couple of years ago on my Diamond dual band vertical. I did run it on that. So if you're going to do a lot of VHF, UHF work, especially in single sideband, microwave, satellites, whatever, I would recommend going with a lower loss coax. A lot of times, those antennas are not going to be as far from your end location as a regular HF rig would be. So, all I'm trying to say is this. The naysayers that complain about RG8X, there's always going to be people that's going to run that down, but a whole lot of people has used it. Jeff's used it for years. I've used it for years. It's easy to work with. And I firmly believe that if you're running a 100 watt or less station, 100 to 125 foot total length, 30 megahertz or less, even 6 meters. And there's not that much use on 6 meters, but I wouldn't be a problem using it on 6 meters. So anything you buy, the only thing that I would caution you not to buy in coax is Amazon, Temu, truck stop coax. I know a lot of guys buy it. I know there's something on Amazon called Mukeef KMR 400 Chinese coax. I don't recommend it. I recommend Jetstream or Cable Experts. That's what I recommend. Again, you buy what you can afford and buy what you want to. That's just my suggestion. I'm not telling you you have to do that. I would stay away from the Chinesium that you know is Chinese coax, because I believe it will cause you problems down the road. Well, guys, that's about all I could think of on it. I had also mentioned about testing the cables with a nano VNA. I hadn't had time to set mine up to do that. I'll be on a separate video where we'll deep dive into that nano VNA a little more, because all I've ever used mine for is just to check SWR on antennas. But I have seen videos where guys use it to check coax out with. So we'll do that in another video. And Bill, thanks again for the mailbag question. I really appreciate it, buddy. Guys, remember, Main Trading Company in Paris, Texas. There's all kinds of stuff going on up there all the time with different used gear, coupon codes. Sign up for his email list. And if you call the store and you heard about them here, tell them you heard about them on Big Boy's channel. That'll just help let them know this is working out for them. Got some more Hamfest information coming up after this video. Anybody's got a Hamfest they want me to put on here, email me the picture of it, and I'll be glad to get it in a video. My email's good on my QRZ page, and I'll try to remember to put it in the description of this video. Thanks everybody who subscribed to the channel. I think we're at 1828 now, depending on what day I look at Google. This is KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.